So the MILE Act, which stands for Michigan Invests Locally Exemption, is what is called an intra-state securities exemption. So it allows for Michigan-based businesses to raise capital from investors, residents in Michigan.
The MILE Act is set up such that companies can raise up to $1 million from non-accredited investors. Accredited investors are defined by the federal securities laws as individuals with a net worth of $1 million or more. So one of the challenges in fundraising for small businesses is that unless you can go to a bank and get a loan, or unless you have hundreds of thousands and potentially millions of dollars to do an initial public stock offering, then there are very few revenue sources other than friends and family. So the MILE law opens up the opportunity to raise funds to the entire population of the state of Michigan. So you can contribute up to $10,000 per individual to one of these campaigns. So if you have discretionary savings that normally you would put into an IRA or a Roth account or into a CD or mutual fund, you could have another option for those funds rather than send that money to Wall Street. You know, if you have, say, $10,000 a year that you're looking to invest, why not take a percentage of that and invest it in your neighbors that are operating a business down the street and recirculate your funds within the economy to these businesses that you see and can touch and feel and shake the hand of the proprietor.
It's often called investment crowdfunding or community-based investing.
A lot of people are familiar with Kickstarter or GoFundMe. There's a whole buffet of crowdfunding options out there.
The difference between what the MILE Act allows for and platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo is that those platforms are all donations, or you're buying a product before it comes to market. And with the MILE Act, you're actually investing. You're either becoming an owner through an equity stake, or you are lending money to the company, and it is a security.
The MILE law, as it's written right now, really provides a true opportunity for those that are looking to build a sustainable business in the state of Michigan.
What's nice about equity crowdfunding and the way we have it in Michigan is that it's not just for the big investors, the accredited investors. It's for individuals like you and I who might not have the big bucks, as you want to say. We're able to invest as well in these small companies and say, I want to be a part of that too.
You have a chance to influence the economy in your own community, to get your friends and family and neighbors employed and creating new jobs, all the things that we think, it takes some big entity with $1 million to do. During the Great Depression, when the SEC was established, and it basically said, you have to make a lot of money and then you can directly invest in companies. But for the rest of you, the unwashed masses, you're going to have to go through an intermediary if you want to invest in a business. And that's kind of how we landed today.
There was an exemption in a 1933 law that allowed for states to, within their own borders, set up the securities laws for their own state.
So individual states realized that they could use this existing exemption or rule on the rule book to create a way for companies to raise capital from residents within their own state without having to really deal with the federal government.
The bill was introduced in September of 2013.
And went through the entire legislative process and was signed into law by the end of December of 2013.
The one case study we can share that we have information on is the first company that used it right out of the gate, and that was Tecumseh Brewing Company.
They were the first business to register, and in spring that year they went out and tried to raise $150,000 from the community.
Then we ended up going to, from bank to bank to bank to bank, and it became just apparent that a startup brewery terrifies every bank in the state. So
they ultimately said to these guys at Tecumseh Brewing that if you can raise money from the community, we'll give you a conventional loan, so you won't have to go through the hoops, you won't have to pay the higher interest rate.
Put an agreement together to go, hey, if we can generate $150,000 minimum from investment crowdfunding, then that activated a $200,000 bank loan, which is covered by our collateral and whatnot. And so once we hit that number from the investment crowdfunding, it activated everything. We were off and running, ready to go.
And they ended up raising $175,000 in half the time that they planned for the raise.
We do know that Michigan's law is really considered model legislation to some degree.
Michigan remains one of the best ones, and I have it on good authority from several other states that they just Xeroxed ours and used it for theirs. So it's a pretty cool story.
Even redirecting 1 or 2% of the hundreds of billions of dollars that Michiganians invest in Wall Street every year could have an immediate and dramatic impact on the quality of life.
It's just an exciting thing as far as economic development and turning the economies of our small cities and villages around. And
so if your dream is to build a bakery in Mason or Grand Rapids or Traverse City, and you need to raise funds to build that bakery or purchase the ovens, you don't necessarily have to go to a high interest lending source or to a speculative lending source. You can raise those funds from your community.